he has uncovered. Lizzie.
Curtis, we've been following this story for several months, waiting to hear from the coroner, all after learning 62-year-old Stephanie Dowles from the Los Angeles area died at Mule Creek State Prison in Ione on November 13th at about 2 in the morning. Her family tells us she was visiting her husband, 54-year-old David Brinson. He's been in prison since 1994, and court records show a jury convicted Brinson of 4 counts of murder, and he was sentenced to 4 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. But he was allowed family visits. The CDCR website tells us those happen in private apartment-like facilities on prison grounds and can last about 30 to 40 hours. So it was during one of those visits that Dowles died. We know she was a hairstylist and a small business owner, and she was very close with her community in Southern California. So now, while the coroner has ruled Dowles' death a homicide, the prison says its investigation is still ongoing, and the district attorney's office tells us it has not filed charges against anyone because it's still waiting on that criminal investigation to be completed. Back to you.
Lizzie, have you had a chance to speak with the family?
Yeah, we have. They're obviously very upset about this, and they have questions about whether these private family visits should have been allowed.
People looking at that now. All right, Lizzie, thank you very much.
This is the book of 1 Timothy, chapter 2, verses 11 and 12. Verse 11, and it reads, "Let the woman learn in silence with all subjection." Verse 12, "But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence." Giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Raha HaKakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well in teaching us this 100% truth. Salutations to them and my fellow Akim who labor in this truth week in and week out on the highways and byways. Also salutations to the hopeful elect of the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, scattered to the 4 corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, also known as your Israelite foreigners, and your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. To you, I say Shalom. This is your brother Ayashar Barzal from the Indianapolis branch of the Great Millstone, coming back at you with another lesson that is edifying to the elect body of the nation of Israel. And I got this article coming up, but before I get into it, just want to lead into this article that how fitting it is based on what's happened the last couple of days. After a Bible study last night, a couple of brothers went to the store, and as they were there conversing with each other with scriptures, an older woman who claimed to be an elder jumped in their conversation and was trying to correct and teach them. And of course, the orderly thing was done, and it came back up tonight in camp, about who wisdom was given to. All right. And ironically, right after camp is over, I'm on my way back home, and just happened to see a notification in this Newsbreak app. And again, if you don't have this app, it is full of judgment, all over the place. I mean, that's all we've been seeing. I mean, when the order came out to, make, more videos, this is one of the gifts they keep on giving, But this is the article that popped up. Got it from Newsbreak. It's linked in from the U.S. Sun, and it says, "Woman killed during conjugal visit with mass murderer in prison after Bible sessions and pushing him to be a better person." So this title is telling us she was teaching without telling us that she was teaching. I mean, it's quite clear. Okay. And I just read, 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 11 and 12. She's supposed to be in silence and not supposed to be teaching. All right. And that's Bible. I'm going to get to that. But let's get into this article first, and then I'll put some scriptures to it. It says a woman was killed during a conjugal visit visit with her mass murderer husband, wow, after Bible lessons and pushing him to be a better person. Stephanie Dowell, 62, was killed while visiting her husband, David Brinson, 54, in Mule Creek State Prison in Eon, California. I think I'm pronouncing that right. An hour's drive southeast of Sacramento in November of 2024, authorities revealed this week. And this is the woman, all right, who was teaching, all right, teaching a man, trying to teach him. And this is him, all right. And dude is this picture here, her husband. He's was sentenced in 1994 to life in prison after killing 4 men. Yeah, 54 years old, all right. And that's a picture of Mule Creek State Prison, all right. It says, in the early morning hours of November 13th, Brinson used a phone in the conjugal visit facility where the couple was staying to tell officers that his wife passed out, the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation said. Despite the officers' life-saving efforts, Dowles died about an hour later. All right. Says the Amador County coroner said that Dowles was strangled to death per local NBC affiliate KCRA. Dowles' daughter-in-law, Natalie Jimenez, told the outlet of Dowles and Bronson they would read the Bible together. He was in school in there because she was pushing him to try to be a better person. Armand Torres, one of Dowles' 2 sons, thinks the prison should be held accountable for his mother's death. And he's quoted as saying, "How could they just let this happen? I just don't get it," he said. A conjugal visit at the prison is described as a visit in private apartment-like facilities on prison grounds by the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. The visits can last about 30 to 40 hours according to the prison system. My mom was just left alone and she called for help, I'm sure, and there's nothing she could do, Torres said. The distraught son asked, given the history that this guy has, we kind of wanted to know how it is even possible for them to be unsupervised. Brinson is currently serving 4 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. Fuck, he didn't have shit to lose. Golly. Okay. Says he was sentenced in 1994 after being convicted of fatally shooting 4 men. Says the execution-style murders, as the Los Angeles Times puts it in a 1994 article, were committed during a robbery at one of the victim's garage apartments in the Mid-Wilshire neighborhood in Los Angeles. The California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation told KCRA that conjugal visits are a privilege and incarcerated persons must apply and meet strict eligibility criteria to be approved. It says only those who demonstrate sustained good behavior and meet specific program requirements are considered, the prison system added. The U.S. Sun has reached out to the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation for comment. The prison system said Dowles' death remains under investigation. Prosecutors have yet to file charges against Brinson in connection to Dowles' death. Brinson is now in the California healthcare facility in Stockton, a state prison for people with long-term medical or acute mental health needs that is about a 46-minute drive south of Ione, per the Los Angeles Times. And then it goes on to say, who is David Brinson? David Brinson, 54, was sentenced to life in prison in the 90s for multiple killings. In June 1990, Brinson fatally shot retired tavern owner Robert Marks, 59, and 3 other men in a robbery in Marks' garage apartment in the Mid-Wilshire neighborhood in Los Angeles. He was convicted of the murders in October 1993. At the age of 23, Brinson was sentenced to 4 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole in February of 1994. Wow. And this goes on a beacon of strength and love. And a GoFundMe post asking for donations to pay for expenses for her body's return home and its burial. Dowles, who was referred lovingly to as Stevie D, was described as a beacon of strength and love and the cornerstone of her family and community. Dowles was a hairstylist and small business owner based in Los Angeles. She was the primary provider for her sons, her elderly parents, and her 8 grandchildren. Stevie's sudden departure has left a void deeply felt by her family and community alike, the GoFundMe read. She was as described as a faithful woman of God who dedicated her life to uplifting others through her unwavering faith, boundless optimism, and the deep connections she's fostered. Okay. Yeah, she was definitely teaching. And, like the scripture says, for that Job 39:17. Let me grab that. Job 39:17. And it reads, because Yahweh Bashem Yahushai hath deprived her of wisdom, neither hath he imparted to her understanding. Now, this is with respect to the scriptures, but how do you don't have a whole lot of wisdom being with the man who's serving 4 life terms. Gee whiz. With all you had going for you, you dealing with a man that's like that, Not that, I don't know what your circumstances were, but he's not, he's definitely not getting out now. He wasn't getting out then. But, no, that wasn't great wisdom to pick someone or stay with someone who had a history like that, her own son had better sense to know that, All right, back to the article. See what happened to this guy. All right. Yeah, it's got a couple of articles here. It says, who killed Stephanie Dowles? Justice for Stephanie Brinson. Okay. So she was going by Dowles and Brinson. I'm not sure. But it said it was her husband, so maybe she was married, but they had her going by her maiden name or another name. Let me click on this right here. It says who killed her. So she was found dead. Okay. So he was eventually accused. Let me go back here. That article was written 11 hours ago. Okay. Written 11 hours ago, according to this. So if you go back down to this, let's lock you. And it asked the question, who killed her? Stephanie Dowles. And get back to that piece where it said about, okay, he was accused. So, okay, he was accused. So let's get that. Oh boy. It says murderer accused of killing wife during conjugal visit in California. Okay. A convicted murderer is accused of killing his wife during a conjugal visit in November at Mule Creek State Prison in Amador County, California. Okay. It says a 54-year-old David Brinson, so yes, the same guy, who was serving life in prison without the possibility of parole after murdering 4 men in Los Angeles County, as is the subject of the ongoing investigation involving his wife, 63-year-old Stephanie Brinson, WKBN reported on Friday. Yeah, so that's him again. All right. Okay, I'm not going to read this entire article. The point is that she was in there teaching them, but what I will do is put a link to the original article and this one in the description box of the video. All right. So, we already said, made it clear that the Lord suffers not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, because that wisdom is given to the man. It's only one way a woman is supposed to be teaching. All right. And this is the book of Titus, chapter 2. Beginning in verse 3. And it says, the aged women, and it's 62, yes, she was aged. The aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not given to much wine, teachers of good things, okay? That they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai be not blasphemed. Okay, that's straightforward. Okay, straightforward instructions, directions, the law that tells a woman how to teach. Okay, she's not supposed to be teaching that man. All right, at all. If anything, she's supposed to be, the woman is supposed to be learning from her husband. I wouldn't say in this case that was a good idea. All right, but yeah, just to prove that, this is the book of 1 Corinthians. Chapter 14, verses 34 and 35. Verse 34, and it reads, let your women keep silence in the churches, for it is not permitted unto them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience, as also saith the law. And if they will learn anything, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is a shame for women to speak in the church. Okay? That's because there is an order, okay? An order to things. All right? If let's just slide down to verse 40, it says, 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 40, it says, let all things be done decently and in order. And what is that order? Okay? Same book, 1 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 3. And it reads, but I would have you know that the head of every man is Hamashiach, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Hamashiach is Yahweh. Okay? That's the order. The Heavenly Father, Yahweh, whose name means he is, he to be, he exists. Okay? After him, his son, Yahweh Shai, whose name means he saves or he delivers. Then after him, the man. All right? Then after the man, it is a woman. So why is the man after him? All right? Slide on down to verse 7. It says, for a man indeed ought not to cover his head, for as he is the image and glory of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, but the woman is the glory of the man. Okay? That's the order. Okay? But she usurped that order. Okay? By teaching him. All right? I mean, I understand that that's her husband, but it was kind of out of order, and that was, man, that's a conjugal visit. Now you got nobody else to come see you. But that's the judgment of the Lord. It's using that teaching, and we've been seeing it all week. These women, especially Jake women, are just being completely ignoring the scriptures and teaching. You had that one bug out Yah Israelite woman with the three cotton balls stuck to the side of her head and the back of her head that she was that she would call a ponytail, but they were far from it. Ponytail was supposed to be long, and no, she gave herself a facelift with these things that were pulled so tight. All right, but here it says that the man is the image and glory of Yahweh. Okay, what is that image? Okay. Well, let's just prove it again that the man is in the image. Going all the way back to the beginning, Genesis 1 and 27. Okay. And it says, so the powers created man in his own image. In the image of Yahweh, of the powers, created he him. Okay. And that's a semicolon there. Two independent statements. Okay. Male and female, he created them. So one was in the image. That's the man, as I showed in 1 Corinthians 11 and 7. All right. And then he says, after that, he said, male and female, he created them. Okay. The woman is not in the image of the Most High. So you can stop saying that, ladies. You're not in the image of the Most High. It is the elect man on who he's dealing with. All right. So once again, let's prove what that image is. This is the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7. That's in the Apocrypha, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, starting at verse 24. Okay. And it reads, for wisdom is more moving than any motion. She passeth and goeth through all things by reason of her pureness. For she is the breath of the power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and the pure influence flowing from the glory of the Almighty. Therefore can no defiled thing fall into her. Verse 26. For she is the brightness of the everlasting light and the unspotted mirror of the power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and the image of his goodness. Okay? The image of his goodness. All right? Did not just say it, read that that the man is the image of the Most High in 1 Corinthians 11 and 7 and Genesis 1 and 27. It's going to get a little deeper. Okay. Verse 27. And being but one, she can do all things remaining in herself. She maketh all things new, and in all ages entering into holy souls. She maketh them friends of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai and prophets. Okay. What did Yahweh Shai tell his disciples? Okay. Get that. This is exactly what he told them. What he told the disciples, John 15 and 14. Okay. He says, ye are my friends if ye do whatsoever I command you. All right. That's what he's telling his disciples. Okay. Ye are my friends. So let's go back to that. And this is red letter. Okay. Wisdom of Solomon 7. She maketh them friends of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai and prophets. We know the prophets were men too. And here's a stickler right here. It says, for Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai loveth none but him that dwelleth with wisdom. Him, not her. Him. All right. And just to back that up, one more piece. This is the book of Proverbs. He's only dealing with the elect men. So you women, sit down somewhere, because you're going to meet judgment just like this lady did. You know, Yahweh Shem Shai does not play with his word, And it was obvious from the article that you were teaching him, and if you were teaching the wrong thing, hey, judgment is what it is. This is Proverbs chapter 8, verse 1. Salakia, and it reads, Doth not wisdom cry, and understanding put forth her voice? She standeth in the top of the high places, by the way, in the places of the paths. She crieth at the gates, at the entry of the city, at the coming in at the doors. Unto you, O men, I call, and my voice is to the sons of man. All right, he's only dealing with the men. Point blank, period. The woman should not have been teaching, And I don't know if that judgment was for teaching or something else. But, like the scriptures say in Job 4:7, whoever perishes being innocent, you got judged for something. And you kind of suffered too, being strangled, Yeah, but once again, that woman earlier in the week that a lot of the brothers did a video on, even Apostle Tahar, said that, that the camps were wicked for teaching that we would hate, that we're supposed to hate Esau. And she's saying why the scriptures tell us not to. Everyone's going into that scripture. Edomite and Deuteronomy 23:7 should read Assyrian. Okay? Syrian. It's not an Edomite. And then abhorring an Edomite does not mean that you hate him. It's a strong dislike, or you should avoid him, which, the Lord tells us to. Stay out of the way of this devil. Stay out of his way. All right. So, yeah, that's just saying it is, hey, stay away from that dude. All right, but that knucklehead woman who had a video made about it, she used 1 Samuel 15:23. All right, she cut herself when she did that. She's teaching too. 1 Samuel 15:23. All right, it says, for rebellion is as a sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because thou hast rejected the word of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, he shall also reject thee. All right? Rebellion is as a sin of witchcraft. All right? Now, I should have started at 22. Yeah, let me go back and read that again. 1 Samuel 15, beginning at 22. And Samuel said, hath Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai? Behold, to obey is better than any sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. So this is, when Saul, did that sacrifice from the spoils of Amalek, okay? And he wasn't supposed to do it, all right? Plus the sacrifice is the offices of the priest, Levitical priest, all right? So he was out of order two ways, all right? So, yeah, it says obedience is better than sacrifice. And what did it say back in 1 Corinthians? You're supposed to be silent, be in obedience as according to the law. That's what it's told the woman when she was among the church. Be in obedience as according to the law. All right. To remain in silence. All right. Be under all subjection. But this woman wasn't doing that when she's trying to push him to be a better person. I mean, man, that sentence, he was 23 years old when it happened. He's 54 now. And won't be, the
don't look like he's getting out anytime soon. I mean, yeah. But anyway, that's what she said, you know. And what did it say about it says for rebellion, which is what Saul did. He rebelled against the Most High. It says for rebellion is as a sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry, because thou hast rejected the word of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, he hath also rejected thee from being a king. All right. It says for rebellion. You know, you women out there teaching are rebelling against the word of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. You saw what he did to Miriam. Took all her melanin from her. All right. But it says rebellion is as a sin of witchcraft. What does the Lord say about witchcraft? This is Exodus chapter 22 and verse 18. Straightforward. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. Thou shalt not have patience for a witch to live. All right. So when you rebelling like that, you know, you're really setting yourself up for the Lord to take you out. All right. And that's the wrong space to be in. Because it was that Hebrews 10 and 31 says, it is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living power. And a lot of you women out here doing this stuff, that's what's going to happen. And it's not going to end well, because you have been warned over and over and over again. Shut your mouth when it comes to these scriptures. All right? A lot of you just refuse to do that. And then here we have a case where somebody was judged in the worst way. Because when you're strangled, you know the life is leaving your body. All right? So, with that, I hope this lesson was edifying to the elect body of the nation of Israel. Once again, I'm going to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rahak HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well in teaching us this 100% truth. Salutations to them and my fellow Akim who labor in this truth week in and week out on the highways and byways. Also salutations to the hopeful elect of the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, scattered to the four corners of the earth, that be like it to the speckled bird, also known as your Israelite foreigners and your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. To you, I say Shalom, Kwam Yasharallah, Abba Abba, Shalom.